lots of ideas.
We just have lumber jump off. Or windows, or whatever.
We're going to make the draw now for the trip to Vegas, if you can get your tickets out. We'll be driving into the airport at 4 o'clock, so people are listening, the number is. Okay, so great session there this morning, and we're going to get going here again. And so we're going to combine 2 sessions. We've got Philip Young from the Toronto Community Housing Corporation and Angie Bug from the Saskatchewan Environmental Society, and they're going to be combining their 2. So I'm not going to say too much with our first speaker. I'm going to let him tell you his story, but please a warm Moose Jaw welcome for Philip Young from Toronto Community Housing.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I think after Eric, exciting talking, it's a hard act to follow. Right? So obviously it is of a different scale, different story. But I just want to do a quick survey. How many people were here yesterday? A few are new people. So I will try to do a slightly different angle, but also retain the story intact, right? So let me just do a simple introduction, who I am, and about my company, and also the mandate of Toronto Community Housing. As you know, maybe this is a good picture to show. This is a new Regent Park. Regent Park is a located in East Toronto. If people been to Toronto, you know there's a Eaton Centre. There's a tourist attraction. And then it is just on the east side of Eaton Centre. You can walk from the new building to that Eaton Centre within 10-15 minutes. Is it loud enough? Okay. So, first of all, I have to thank CAMP, CMHC, so generous support for this project, in a sense that although they're not donating money to build or rebuild Regent Park, but they giving us a lot of support in terms of continuing monitoring the performance of this revitalization process. So who are we? Toronto Community Housing is a municipal housing company, and our sole shareholder is the City of Toronto. So in terms of size, we are the biggest in the whole country in terms of providing social housing. And we own and maintain and manage 58,000 units, approximately 164,000 low and moderate income tenants are living in 2,200 buildings. So when I said 2,200, it represents about 1,000 single semi-detached houses all scattered around the city. And we have about 1,000 townhouses. And then roughly 200 high-rise to mid-rise apartments. So you can imagine the big portfolio that we have to manage. And not only that, most of our buildings are in a vintage of 40, 50 years old. So there's a lot of pressure on getting money to upkeep the building, to manage the building well, so that our tenants have a good place to live and to extend the skills and be making contribution to the society. So why we have to revitalize an old neighborhood? This is one of the strategies that our company has been in the making for the last 10 years due to the aging of our asset and also lack of financial support from 3-level government. So we want to select some neighborhood that we can revitalize them, in a sense we can either intensify the density of those neighborhoods. And Regent Park is one of those potential candidates that we've been looking at for the last 6 to 7 years. To put it into a historical context, you can see when Regent Park was built about 50 years ago. This is even longer than 50 years. And those houses you look at in the black and white pictures are pretty horrible and dilapidated. And so that was after the Second World War. And then there's a concept of rehousing people, and after the war, a lot of veterans come back and they need housing. So Regent Park was born. Basically, you can see these 3-story walk-up houses. And there's also 1 or 2 apartment buildings in this 69 acres of land. And the backdrop is those financial district in the downtown area. The whole process of revitalization involved community engagement. And because of the diversity of our population, we very much want to make sure everybody have a voice. And although their input may not be necessarily 100% reflected in the final plan, but at least this is something that we want to get them involved. The term community animators, maybe Angie will be able to talk about this later on after me. It is a concept of involving the tenants, selecting some tenants that they are very willing to be able to act as an ambassador or a champion so that they can understand the revitalization process, and then they will go back to the community. They can use their own language, their own culture to present it to the tenants of their own group. And then through that process, we can listen to everyone of their concern. And it is most important to be able to build trust and the credibility. You cannot imagine being a landlord, being a tenant. That kind of trust relationship is so important. So without that, nothing will happen. So what is revitalization? This is what it looked like back in the early days of Regent Park. You can see the thick black line represent the street, but there's no inner street or friendly pedestrian street within the 69 acres of the old Regent Park neighborhood. On the right-hand side is the new Regent Park. After fully revitalized, they will have a lot of internal street, very friendly, open, and the police can also patrol the area. Unlike here, where the buildings start deteriorated, and there's a lot of social issue arises. So one major or important concept is what we call mixed-use development. So we are mixing both the private market condo people with the rental people side by side. If you look at the picture on the right, this is a brand new building, and this is the old corner where they still have the 3-story before demolition. So this building is a rental building for low-income group people. And then there's a commercial retail space down below. And then behind the high-rises, they are the private market condo building. So this is what we call mixed use, both residential and commercial. And I will explain why we pursued these particular strategies. Before, in the old neighborhood, there's no retail space at all. There's no commercial opportunities, no employment opportunities for the tenant as well. So right now, we have completed phase 1 of the projects, and we have Tim Hortons, Reuters Communication, Fresco, even the Royal Bank. There's no bank in the last 50 years, you can imagine, with so many people packed into that area, and they have to go a long way to do the banking. So right now, the new Royal Bank is on the first floor of the new 6-story family building. Revitalization also meant creating jobs. During the construction, we've been able to provide 56 construction trades and 21 people with Royal Bank, and Tim Horton 40 people. So literally we created over 400 jobs during the last 3 years of construction. So this is one important strategy that it will continue. Not only economic is important, also social integration is one of the main features. And we want to make sure that there's social cohesion and employment plan and community services to serve the populations. It had to be go hand in hand with the design, construction, and also most importantly is the social capital we want to build up. Regent Park is 69 acres, and it's not possible to demolish the whole old neighborhood, which consists of 2,200 housing units. You can imagine to decant so many families, relocate them, is a tremendous task. So what we decided is to phasing out in 15 years. So from phase 1 to phase 6, it would take almost like 3 years per phase, but we're staggering. Before we complete phase 1, we already start design of phase 2. So hopefully we can complete it on time with enough resources. So phase 1 is completed right now, and we're already starting phase 2. In this area, there's an open park, and then over here there's an aquatic center, swimming pool for people, and over here we have an art and cultural complex, and there's a community center here. So we provided a lot of community space, recreation space for the whole new neighborhood. So phase 1 is done. Started in 2000, people start to move back 2 years ago. And so there's 2 market buildings, around 500 condo units been fully sold. And also we have townhouses in the mix of high-rise, mid-rise. And these townhouses are also, half of them are rental and the other half are condo, so people can buy and own them. One of the focus today is to talk about the district heating and cooling plant, which is located in the basement, 3-level basement of this Taurus building in phase 1. And there's cooling tower on the top. So this central plant will provide all the heating, cooling, and hot water supply to the whole neighborhood. So in terms of financing this big process, we look into public-private development partnerships because we cannot do it on our own. And we need to provide adequate number of condos so we can sold and then use the proceeds and then reinvest back to the construction of the new rental unit. So this is quite a successful formula, but one of the criteria is to make sure that there's a low density to start with so that we can up the density to provide that kind of additional revenue to subsidize the reconstruction. Value creation synergy is important, and we want to make use of this process to engage our tenants as well as providing job opportunities to them. Financial discipline cannot be underestimated. We have to come with a business plan how do we come up with this new capital, and then we have to maintain the continuity, making good use of the current real estate market, and then move on. So who is investing? The company itself, the provincial government, the municipal government, and the business around us. Obviously, the people of Toronto have to support it, and we have a lot of partners to make that happen. Now coming to the sustainability issues, since we have the opportunity to revitalize the whole area, so one simple question we ask ourselves, how can we make it sustainable? How can we make the building energy efficient and saving costs in the long term? So our company had a green plan, just like the city of Moose Jaw. We're aiming at reducing the CO2 reduction to 40% by the year 2020, which is only 8 years from now, and based on the 2003 benchmark. So it's a very ambitious plan. And the way we do it is we have to formulate a financial plan, a business plan, and also look at both the new building and 90% of our stock are existing building. So we have to take a two-pronged approach. So on the very left-hand side, this is a LEED certified gold building. So we incorporate a lot of energy efficiency features such as low flow plumbing fixture, dual flush toilet, glazing, 40% wall area, and low emitting materials like kitchen cabinet. They are not particle board. Insulated wall roof assembly like what the previous speaker talked about. And then we have stormwater for irrigation and energized parking spaces. And for the high rises, we also incorporate similar system to reduce the water consumptions. The overall goal is to reduce 47% below the Model National Energy Code. For the townhouses, we're aiming at Energy Star. So those are the features that we incorporate in all these new buildings. Now coming to the central system, how we can use the this particular district energy system to supply heating, cooling, and hot water to the whole complex. So on a schematic, it is a very simple concept where we put in enough heating boilers, chillers, and then we have what we call distribution piping that go beyond the building to each of the customer building. So for example, throughout the whole 69 acres of Regent Park, there will be close to 50 buildings coming on board. Right now, for phase 1, we completed about 6 to 7 buildings. So you can imagine there will be more and more customers coming on stream. And these boiler will become more and more. So we provide enough capacity to provide all the need for the whole region. Not only we have to consider putting natural gas boiler, there are potential for us in the future to put in renewable energy source such as geothermal, combined heat and power plant, fuel cell if it is become economical. So the beauty of the central plant is that there will be future technology proof, and the big investment is the thermal grid, the piping, they're running around the whole region. So quickly run through the new technology that we're using. Right now for phase 1, we already put in about 11 megawatt of heating capacity. When it fully built out, it will be around 30 megawatt of heating supplied to the whole complex. On the chiller, right now we have about 2,000 tons of chiller capacity. And when it's fully built out, there will be close to 4,000 tons. I mentioned about the piping. As you can see, they are like 12 to 18 inches in diameters, fully insulated. And they also have a state-of-the-art leak detection cable embedded between the insulation and the steel pipe. So if they have any leakage, they can detect through a building automation system, and they can do the repair, pinpoint exact location, so that we don't have to dig up the whole road. So this is one piece of major investment for any of this type of central heating system have to invest in. The third component is what we call energy transfer station. Essentially, this heat exchanger within the customer building will serve as a intake of primary heating supply from the central plant, and then converted them to the right temperature for that particular building to meeting the heating load and cooling load. So a little bit about the renewable energy option. I mentioned about geothermal and also combined heat and power. Those are ready-made technology, but we have to consider how viable, how financially, technically sound it can be integrated, at what stage of the development. So once we can work out all these details, we can gradually introduce this technology into this central system. For example, we have put in a small-scale solar photovoltaic panel on the roof of our head office. This is a small application, about 270 watt, and so it was done quite effortlessly, although you can see the roof space are quite tight, very close to the parapet wall. And we have done some evaluation between July 2010 to last year, February, and we discovered that the actual production of power is 40% more than we predicted in this installation. So this is quite encouraging for us. So maybe we do have quite a bit of sunlight in Toronto. Again, another beauty of the central system is that they can connect to future residential or commercial building nearby. Regent Park is here, and we have another rental development which we call Boss Park. It's about 1,000 units. So as long as we can economically embed some piping and connect to the central plant here, so we can provide heating to these 1,000 units of residents. So it is a flexible system that can keep on expanding. So what are the key development stages and issues and challenges? I will go through it quickly. First of all, we do have to have a project vision. And then, as I mentioned, we have to consider whether we go back to the base case, which is essentially putting boiler and chiller on top of each building. So there will be 50 times 2 boiler and chiller at least in each of the future building. Or we can put in a central plant and invest a little bit earlier, but in the long term, if we do a full life cycle costing analysis for 25 years, and we'll find out the central system is far, far better than the individual boiler and chiller system. And not only in terms of economic, but also in terms of environmental benefit, we are cutting down a tremendous amount of CO2. So those are the consideration we have to put in at the beginning. So once we decided we want to build a central plant, then we have to consider the design construction. We have to make sure we find the right consultants who have experience and also work with individual building mechanical and electrical consultants so that they fully understood the interface between the central system and the individual building secondary system. So commissioning and operation stage is also important in the sense that a lot of the GLAB had lead to inefficient performance and not able to deliver the original design intent. So, for example, at Regent Park, in phase 1, we have provided over capacity and rendering the new chiller we put in because there's not sufficient load at the beginning. So we cannot really able to run the chiller to test out the performance. So those are the things that we learned from this exercise. I mentioned about commissioning and equipment sizing is important, and communication between the central system and the individual building system so that they are synchronized with one another. We have done a simple analysis over the last year and a half. And on the left-hand side, this is a typical building at Regent Park. And then the new Regent Park building, we found out there's over 30% saving in terms of utility and water consumption in terms of cost. So this is one encouraging news that the project is still sound. These are more specific numbers to support the graph that we just saw. And you can see there's a significant reduction in terms of heating, cooling, and water consumptions. So this is another screenshot that we rely on the building automation system that we can generate real-time information, and then we can do a graph and other analytics to allow to look at the efficiency of the system and be able to respond to any anomalies. So the conclusion is partnership. We intentionally put in the green building features. We achieve architectural excellency and urban design, financial discipline. And luckily, we have a good real estate market that's still able to sustain marketing our new unit and continue investment. And all people have to put skin in the game and then carry this momentum. So that's the formula of success so far at Regent Park. So there's a couple of numbers, statistics to remind us of this project. So 500,000 is the current price for the townhouse unit. So it's quite significant in terms of not just from Toronto perspective, but for this project in particular. 411 is the number of jobs we created throughout phase 1 construction, and 40% is the energy efficiency we're able to achieve. And the last one is difficult to guess, but I'll show you in the next slide. These are the townhouses compared to the high-rise at the backdrop. And I forget to mention, the first building we demolished, we just heard that Eric mention about recycling, right? So we did try our best to separate the brick, the coppers, the plumbing, the electrical cables. Some of the building have asbestos, so we have to do asbestos abatement as well. So it's quite a costly exercise. I think unfortunately we're not as smart as Eric. We cannot really derive any value in terms of it costs quite a bit for us to go through that sorting process, but for some reason we don't know what to do with those recycled materials afterwards. So we simply ship it to a storage area, and maybe in the future we can recycle them in the next phases of building. So there's some thought put into recycling and waste handling as well. But we need more thought to put into how best to use it. So this is the one of the new building that I just shown. And then the last slide. So remember I talked about the job opportunity, and we have Tim Horton in that complex. So typically, Tim Horton serve 1,000 donuts per day, and that's how the industry and also the business is thriving and people having job opportunity. That's all for my presentation. I'm not sure whether how the time is running. Is there any question, or should I hand the mic back to?
Freshco is a grocery store?
Yes. Fresh Company is the equivalent to Sobeys. Yeah, they come with new name. It's just a branding issue. Yes, sir.
You've put a lot of energy into developing these community animators.
Yeah.
And you're kind of in a unique position because you're also going to be maintaining this in the future. You're not like a developer that's just building it and running. What are you doing to leverage that work with the community so that you actually maintain community organizations?
It's a very important question. Actually, indeed, we are not just trying to create this animator for this project alone. We find out through the process, it is extremely useful tools and communication method for us to engage the tenant. This is one of the most important piece of engagement that we slowly discover, that we can not only work with the animators or local champion to convey this kind of complex issue, planning issue, construction issue, but also we can work with them to bring in the conservation ideas, how to foster a better conservation culture among our tenants community. And also other social issues, we can use the same animators to convey the message and allow them to bring the feedback to us. So this is very powerful means of doing that. I think Angie will definitely talk about that later on. The young gentleman?
I believe that your district energy is just serving your buildings. I'm wondering, has there been any thought to connecting to buildings that you don't own?
Yes, in our business plan, we primarily target to serve all the 50 buildings that will be built in the next 10 years. But whenever there's an opportunity nearby, within the vicinity or even beyond, and if it is economical to lay piping to connect to that existing hospital, commercial building, or residential building, definitely will seriously look into it, because all these community energy systems had a viable financial business plan to back it up. So in actual fact, there's a significant return of investment. So it is not like in the old building concept where we factor in the heating system in our construction budget and then sell it to the customer. But here we are treating this energy system as an investment, as a long-term investment that will have, say, 8–10% return. So we have to be very careful how to attract customer and retain customer beyond our boundary.
You said that there was like $500,000 condo units and then low rental apartments and suites and stuff for like low-income people. How do you intermingle that stuff so you don't show the whole place as a ghetto? You know, like how would you get people to buy these $500,000 homes if you got a bunch of?
Yeah. It is a very common question, not very frequently asked, and we talk about in Toronto. Toronto is a quite diversified communities, And back in the 70s, this kind of mixed development already germinated and tried out in similar development. So we have co-op housing along the same street, we have low income, we have condo. So this is not a very far-fetching idea or ideological concept, but we have been practicing and trying that out in our whole city for maybe the last 20, 30 years. Of course, Regent Park being stigmatized as a social, upheaval and also not a good place to live, to pass by, especially at nighttime. So if you go to Toronto, if you take a cab, a taxi, if you say I want to go to Regent Park, so those taxi cab may be a little bit hesitant to take you there, but not now. So yes, it is a challenge. I'm not saying this is a done deal, but by virtue of the number of buildings, when we push out the first condo unit, it sold out less than a week, 85%. It was totally unbelief. Wow. And that's why we move on to the second condo, to the townhouses, and the sheer fact demonstrate that people are not afraid. There's a big demand, and obviously it's not done yet. In a sense, we still have to have that integration from a social capital building point of view, and also right now I talked to the property managers, and he already indicated there's some issue that he had to deal with in terms of property management issue, garbage pickup, and the way people put their stuff in the balcony compared to the condo unit. All sort of things, I hate to say, but this is a constant struggle.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no easy answer. Because we're all human, right?
Right, yeah.
You're maintaining the grounds in this property?
They are public street, so beyond the public street, yes, we are look after the landscape and also the garbage pickup, recycling, all those things.
Very good.
Yes.
I noted there that there was a possibility for incorporating renewable energy systems in the future. I'm curious as to why solar hot water particularly, given that it's pretty effective for domestic hot water purposes, there's always a usage there, summer or winter, why that was not incorporated from the start.
Another excellent question. First of all, we see this energy system is a commercial utility type undertaking. So we want to make sure there's a consistency of using the energy produced from the central plant. If you allow a lot of solar PV and solar, especially solar hot water, that will create some kind of competition for people not buying energy from the central plant. So there's a slight conflict there, but it's very negligible because you're not talking about putting millions of solar panels on this small urban footprint. You can only have a limited amount of panels that generated limited amount of hot water. So we can allow people to put solar hot water, especially in the townhouses, because townhouses is a smaller, low-density building where they cannot hook up to the energy system because of the cost involved. So there are potential for putting solar thermal and even solar PV on top of those townhouses. So that hopefully will be a happy blending of both utilizing the central system and in isolated cases using those solar panels for local use. And you can, if you ask some utility company, anything that may cause diminishing of business, they will not want to encourage people to adopt. But I think this is a very narrow way of seeing things because we want to see a better integration of the central system as well as some new technology into the community, which will work perfectly.
I mean, when you go around, you look at pictures from around the world, the thing that is most commonly found on roofs of all kinds of buildings, I mean, if you look at China or the Middle East
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
is solar hot water systems.
Yes, yes. Even my house, I have just installed a solar hot water system. But one thing in the urban area is extremely difficult to find a space because Toronto is so expensive, and the high-rise building, they only have a very small footprint, I mean roof footprint, and that limits the production of the solar hot water system. Unlike in a farmland where you have unlimited land, then so those are considerations we have to put into the picture. I think time is.
Yeah, we're going to give well, everyone, round of applause. Thank you, Philip. That was very good. Would like to hand it over to Angie here right away, and she'll do her presentation.
Am I speaking into the mic? I can't hear it at all. To me, there's no microphone, so if I stop speaking into the mic, you guys have to flap your arms or something so I know. Philip mentioned community animation about a dozen times there. And the two things I'm about to talk about are things that would feed into that sort of a thing, or feed into a green team, or just feed into overall the efficient operation of your facility. So I'm with the Saskatchewan Environmental Society, and we're a nonprofit charitable organization. Our mission is to support and encourage the creation of a global community in which all needs are met in sustainable ways. So we're a bunch of tree huggers, but we're not a bunch of freaky tree huggers that live in caves in the riverbank. We do, a lot of us wear Birkenstocks, but that's just fashion. But really we're about looking at real solutions to real problems that fit into the way we live in North America today. In terms of the sort of subject areas that we work on, reduction of toxic materials in the environment, climate change and energy production. The work I do is all on energy conservation, water in terms of watershed management, water allocations, water quality, water conservation, and then also endangered spaces, things like protecting grasslands and sandhills and that sort of thing. So when we're, most of the presentations at this whole event have been about building good buildings and putting in good energy systems. Once we have those good buildings and good energy systems, we still need to operate them well. The way you and I move about in this building, the way the building operators are managing them, have a huge impact on how much energy they're going to use. So the literature talks about sort of a 5 to 10% impact that we have as individuals. I know a family that had 3 young boys who cut their energy consumption in their home by 30% when they just sort of became aware of all the times they were wasting energy. And actually, one of our board members cut her energy consumption in her condo by half when she first moved out into her condo and saw her electricity bills and realized she didn't want to start giving that kind of money to the utilities. So she changed some of her habits and cut her electricity bills by half. So, and when we look at as a business, or not as much, it's harder to kind of calculate this in a residential application, but in businesses, your utility costs are probably only maybe 1/100th of your people costs. The people, your staff, that's what costs you money in your business. So by doing energy conservation, we can't create an uncomfortable, unhappy, unhealthy work environment. An energy efficient building should be a happy, comfortable building. Plus, the World Wildlife Fund recently did a survey, and they found out that the vast majority of us want to work for companies that are environmentally responsible. And one of the ways we tell our employees, our coworkers, that we're environmentally responsible is by the things they see around them all the time. And if they see that a building is being efficiently maintained, they'll have a better idea that you mean it when you say you're an environmentally responsible company. So the two programs I'm going to talk about specifically today are our energy awareness and our building operator training programs. And both of these programs, we talk about saving energy, saving water, and reducing waste. And saving energy is kind of the main part of it. Saving water and reducing waste, I'll talk about both of them later, but they both create energy savings when you save those. So the next bunch of slides are quotes from former clients, and I've mostly put them up here so you can know how great we are. But I also put them up to sort of illustrate the philosophy and the style of delivery of our programs. So this first one is from the Director of Rural Maintenance from the Prince Albert Parkland Health Region, and he had us come back a couple times to train different groups of his building operators, and because he really felt that it was going to benefit his staff. The operator of a condo, so it was a private well, I guess condos are all nonprofits, but it was a condo building in Saskatoon, and their operator came and said that he really found all of the sessions valuable. Like, it wasn't just something he had wasted his time on, it was something he found value in. We've worked with several of the school divisions, and I love this quote. Almost all of the information was applicable to my job. And I think, that's a well-spent day if you can go to a training course where you get applicable information. I also ran into a guy just a couple weeks ago who had been at one of our courses about 2 years ago. And he was like, oh, that was such a great course. You talked about this and this and this, and it was really useful. And so not only had he appreciated it at the time, but 2 years later he could remember some of the stuff we had talked about and dealt with. By the way, the photos on these slides, I don't like slides that are just words, so I threw photos on that come from various places in the different presentations. So, and again, City of Saskatoon, again, it was good awareness, it was common stuff. We weren't talking about kind of the fringe things, we were talking about the stuff that people are dealing with daily. And, if you're an approachable and interesting speaker, what else can you be? And this one I'm quite proud of. It was the Saskatchewan Research Council. It was their building performance group. The building performance group at Sask Research Council are some of the main knowledgeable guys about building stuff in the province, about energy efficiency in buildings in the province. And yet one of my co-workers went and did an energy awareness program with them. So it wasn't about the buildings, it was about how they use the buildings. And one of their people said, yeah, there is more I can be doing. There is more I should focus on. So just a partial list of some of our other clients. We've worked with a couple of different hotel chains, and Colliers is a property management company. So if you own an apartment building, you might have them maintain and operate the buildings. We've also worked with Sask Energy, and we often partner with Sask Power. They often, if they've got a client, they'll often have us come in and present to their clients. So one of the reasons I've listed all these previous clients is so that you can see that there's quite a wide range of who has taken them. It's large organizations, smaller organizations, and quite a wide range of expertise of the different operators that have come to the building operator training. So the first program I'm going to talk about is our energy awareness, and this is for sort of anybody who lives or works in your building. And we have two ways we deliver it. The first is just through, I shouldn't say just, is awesomely through seminars. And the base seminar is 2 hours, but we can either split it up into shorter chunks or condense it, or we could lengthen it as well just by talking slower. No, I'm kidding. The outline for that program, basically, we talk about a bunch of the issues around energy conservation. I mean, this room here today is a pretty informed group. But if you walk into kind of the average office building, you have a huge range of people's interest, knowledge, awareness about anything environmental, and then we're focused more in on energy. So we talk about sort of why they should care about why they're at that presentation that day. And then we talk about specific topic areas. And at the end, we get them to make a commitment. We say, what are you actually going to do about this? To try and help motivate them to actually act on some of what they've learned. So I'm just going to flip through a couple of sample slides from that presentation. One of the things that surprised me for a while, but I'm kind of used to it now, is in any given room of people will have heard the words greenhouse gas, greenhouse effect, climate change, but they don't necessarily know what they mean and how they relate to each other. So we do kind of a brief description of that, explanation of that. And then we talk about how that's going to affect us here in Saskatchewan, both in terms of our weather and in terms of our health. And then we go on for the next 2 hours to deal with more explanation of the issues, and then also dealing with specifics that individuals can do in their workplace and why. The other way we deliver this program is something we call energy awareness dialogues. So this one feeds even more into like a green team type scenario. But what we do is we work together with the client to choose 4 or 5 specific behaviors that they want to get changed. And I'll show you what some of those example behaviors are coming up here. And then we actually come on site, we catch people either in the hallway or in the lunchroom or whatever, catch them for about a 2-minute conversation. Do you already do this? Why or why not? What would make it easier for you to do that certain behavior? And then based on that feedback, we provide a bunch of follow-up materials back to the client, including prompts, which are reminders, statistical information, tips, and activities that they can do in their workplace to help reinforce those behaviors. So these next few slides are samples of stickers. We make up a sort of a series of stickers to go with whatever our topics are at any given location. And so the one on the screen here says, I choose to turn off my computer if I'm away for more than half an hour. And so again, we choose this with the client. Some workplaces are still keeping computers running, but you can turn off your monitor. So then in that case, we change the message a little bit there. We had a client this past year, the Saskatoon Health Region. They wanted to focus a campaign on trying to reduce air conditioning load in the summer. So they were asking people to close the blinds on the sunny side in the summer, and then again getting a lot of electronic equipment shut off so it's not dumping waste heat into the spaces. This was another health region out in the eastern part of the province. They were having a lot of trouble with leaking fixtures, and so they were asking staff throughout the building to report when they found leaking fixtures. Now, a hugely important part of this campaign is the maintenance people have to then fix them. So you can't be encouraging all your staff to report leaks if there's nothing going to happen about it. That would be a very strong encouragement to not report the next leak. Right? So this is one of those times that you have to get multiple parts of your organization on the same page. And then we produce a series of posters. For each issue there'd be at least probably 8 posters or so, and they can be sort of supplemental information that helps motivate you. We always include stats. So one of the values of stats is we call it a word that escaped my brain right now, but it's written down here, social norm. We call it a social norm, which is also known as peer pressure or doing what the cool kids are doing. And so we say, 89% of your coworkers are already planning to do this. So, how about you get on with the team? And, when we first went into this facility, there wasn't 89% of people that were already doing it. But one of my colleagues who was in there running this program, she said, do you close the blinds? No. Well, here's the value in it, and will you now? Oh, yeah, okay. So, if we changed the wording of the stats depending on what we already found. If 89% of people had already been closing the blinds, we would phrase that differently. And then just another sample of a supporting information that would help support whatever the behavior change is that you're trying to achieve. So again, we have the 2 ways that we run our energy awareness program. And we're just starting to work with a client, excuse me, who's planning to have us in to do both. We're going to do a series of dialogues where we go out and meet with people throughout their organization, and then they actually have a day where they've got people from a bunch of different facilities coming together, so we'll deliver a seminar at that time. So the other program, which we always love to run in conjunction with this one, or, I mean, we can deliver them separately as well, is our building operator training. And obviously that's for the people who operate the buildings. So the whole building operator training program is a total of 6 hours of training, and we split that up between HVAC systems, lighting, electrical equipment, water, and solid waste. And we can, I mean, it's all in these chunks, so we can recombine these chunks in whatever schedule fits with your organization. In terms of what we cover in the different sessions, we talk about HVAC systems as a whole. We talk about the use and abuse of thermostats, efficiently using fans, motors, talk about building automation systems. Indoor air quality isn't specifically an energy conservation stuff, but the same people are dealing with the same stuff, and it often crosses, a lot of the same operations type stuff affects it. So we talk about indoor air quality. We talk about heat recovery. Oh, sorry. Did that like sort of suddenly get really loud, or is that just up here? Okay, and we talk about ground source heating, which some people call geothermal heating. Condensing systems are the high efficiency furnaces and boilers. We talk a bit about solar and then energy tips and maintenance issues. So with the HVAC system, again, with each of these sections, I'm going to just throw up a couple of sample slides just so you can pretend that you've had a really micro version of 8 hours of training in 20 minutes. So we look at sort of the whole HVAC system and what all the different components are and how they each lead to energy consumption, how they can or can't work together as a system. Heat recovery, we look at a sort of a variety of different types of heat recovery and what types of buildings or what types of situations they're more and less applicable. We talk about, I'm going to just slow down for 1 second here. This topic has come up a couple times and I just want to do a little bit of clarification. We have a naming problem. Throughout Saskatchewan, and I'm not sure if this is common elsewhere, we often refer to ground source heat pumps as geothermal heating. Geothermal, if you were here yesterday and you heard Brian talking about drilling a well 2 kilometers into the earth to get to hot water, that's geothermal. Ground source heating, these wells would be somewhere between 10 and maybe as deep as 100 feet, depending on how you've set your system up, but probably like 10 feet deep. So the temperature where these wells are is about 10 degrees Celsius. And I can't remember the numbers Brian was saying, but I think, was it like 80 degrees Celsius?
160 Fahrenheit.
Well, 160 Fahrenheit.
Something Celsius.
Okay, so hot.
68.
Much hotter. This is we're dealing with kind of a stable thermal mass that's a little bit less cold than the outside. What he was talking about, geothermal, where you actually have hot heat you're accessing. So then when we get into the lighting and electrical section, those first 2 bullets are basically kind of how we buy electricity. Into the lighting, we talk about a lot of the different types of lighting and the pros and cons and the applications where each of them are suitable. We talk about a lot of the lighting mythology, things that we believe about efficiently using our lights that are wrong. Into the electrical stuff, we talk about load scheduling, different types of appliances, and then some of the big users of energy in a building. So then some sample slides in the lighting section. We talk about the 2 different ways we look at color, and if any of you guys have a chance to go out to Rodney's booth out in the display area, he's got kind of a cool toy that you can see how the different types of lighting are made up of different colors. It's quite an interesting thing. So I mean, this is what color lights look like to us, and this is what color lights make things look. And then for each of the types of lighting, again, we mentioned sort of the pros and cons, the appropriate applications, or if, you know, when certain types of lighting are being phased out, what's appropriate to replace them with, that sort of thing. In the electrical section, just for example, we'll talk about compressed air. It takes a lot of energy to compress air, so all of the things we can do to make that easier. And we have a little demo about the importance of preventing leaks in the compressed air system. And yesterday, when I had a bit longer time slot, we actually ran the demo in the seminar. But if you want to see how fun this is, you have to come out to our booth later. Variable frequency drives. It takes, again, it takes energy to move a fluid, whether that's air or water or glycol or whatever kind of fluid you're moving. And if you can move it slower, there's a lot of savings available. If you move it by controlling dampers or valves, you get a little bit of savings. That's that, I can't tell what color those are, light blue and dark blue lines. But if you can do it by slowing down your motor, you can have a huge savings. So if you look here we've cut down our airflow just by 20%. So we still have 80% of our airflow. And if you're on a variable frequency drive, you've cut down to 50% of your power input. So there's huge, huge savings available there. So we hit on that one quite carefully. And then moving into the water, that first bullet point is kind of about the embodied energy in water. We talk about, a variety of different types of fixtures, hot water, outdoor water use. In terms of the embodied energy in water, it takes a lot of energy to bring us clean, safe water. So we have to pump the water out of a system somewhere, clean it, transport it around to our houses, our buildings, put it back into the sewage treatment system where, again, it takes a lot of energy. In Saskatoon, we have a big clean river right in the middle of our city, so we have good access to water. But here in Moose Jaw and up in Regina, you have to pump your water for quite a ways before it gets to your buildings, or before it even gets to your city. So additional energy input required there. In the water segment, we use a case study, and actually Chris Richards and I did an audit on a building. Chris just woke up now. We did an audit on a building a few years ago, and the water consumption in that building was quite disproportionate to the size and type of use of the building. And so we had to do a bit of sleuthing about, and then we just used this case study to illustrate some of the other points in the presentation. One of which is leaking. A leaking toilet, if your toilet's running, that can be hundreds of liters of water a day that's running down the drain. Leaking tap is not the same kind of volume, but it could easily be hot water that you're running down the drain. We talk about water-cooled equipment, which are big water consumers. And then we have a few minutes on outdoor water use. And then the final topic in the building operator is waste. And so we talk about the connection between waste and greenhouse gases and energy. Basically, it takes a lot of energy to produce the materials, to transport them to us, and then to handle them as a waste. And if organic materials get put into a landfill, for the most part, stuff doesn't rot in a landfill, but when it does break down, it does it in the absence of oxygen, and so it produces methane as a byproduct of decomposition. So methane is a very potent greenhouse gas, much more potent than carbon dioxide. Oh, I went to a different slide than I thought. Anyway, then we go through each of the different, a bunch of the different components of the waste stream, and we talk specifically about if you're recycling this in Saskatchewan, where is it actually going and what's it getting made into? So these slides are more kind of of interest to people who want to know what's happening to their recycled materials. And then we talk about each of Saskatchewan's stewardship programs. The stewardship programs are the ones where we pay a handling charge when we buy something. That handling charge then goes to help motivate proper recycling at the end use of that product. So in terms of the two programs, both of them we run on a fee-for-service, just a cost recovery basis. And our offices are in Saskatoon, so we have to add our travel costs if we're traveling outside of Saskatoon. They each come with a manual. So the Energy Awareness Manual is the skinnier one, and the Building Operator Manual is the fatter one. And there's the pricing for the building operator training. We can basically, I had somebody ask me yesterday, would your organization have to have enough operators to justify a class, or could several organizations get together and bring us in? Absolutely. We would, whatever, we'll work with kind of whatever situation people have. We're more than happy to work with groups of organizations. And then I just wanted to close with this quote. This has been one of the most helpful in-services I've been to, and that's kind of absolutely our goal, is to be useful, to be practical, and to be a course you really are glad you came to. So, feel free to come out to our booth. We've got brochures, and I know I'm standing between you and lunch, so I was talking really fast. I hope you could understand what I was saying. So any questions?
Yeah, questions?
No, you handled it.
Thank you.
Got a couple of announcements. First, thank you very much. Round of applause.
John, I do actually have a question. I'm just curious as to what the uptake is.
Oh, there was a question,
It
sir.
sounds like a really good program, but I'm just curious as to what the uptake has been and how you encourage people who haven't heard about the program to know about the program.
Well, we come to seminars like this and tell you about it, and that's how we encourage it. Oh, I wish I was good at pulling numbers out of my head, but we certainly have the capacity to deliver more. We've worked with, I think, about 7 health regions and, I don't know, 4 or 5 school divisions. We have been putting on a series of courses in the fall where we pick a room and then individuals can come. Our attendance at those hasn't been great. And then as soon as they're over, we hear all these kind of people who are like, oh, I wish I'd heard of that, when we thought we had told everybody we know. So we have reasonable uptake, but we could definitely deliver a lot more. Does that answer your question?
One more time. Are you working with architects and our new hospital planners for like the leading design here?
No.
Oh, well,
Actually, like I
should be getting a call, eh?
Well, and like his question was, are we working with architects and hospital designers? And both of these programs really are about, once the building is built, using it well. Our programs aren't really about how to build a good building.
Oh, yeah, but you must have suggestions that would go into this.
I always have suggestions, even if I don't know what I'm talking about.
Do you work with condominium corporations and stuff like that?
Yes, we do. We've done both energy awareness and building operator training with condo corporations, yeah.
Good, okay.
Okay, I've got a couple of announcements. Also want to do an invitation. Our Director of Engineering Services, Malkus Raman, is here. I'm pleased to see him present for sessions like this. And his son, the next generation. So, 2 announcements. First of all, a reminder to people to fill in the evaluation forms, which are out at the table, I think, Margaret, the front. Just a short evaluation. It's really critical that we get feedback, suggestions, direction on this. We hope to make this an annual event with limited resources, but a lot of building networks and interests. We appreciate your input. Secondly, an announcement about lunch. There's salads and sandwich being served. It's a $5 charge, or salad alone is $3. And presenters, it's free of charge for presenters. So the menu is ham and cheese, roast beef, egg salad, and turkey. More detail than you probably needed. Hope you can stay for lunch and join the sessions this afternoon. Pleased to see a few new people out here on a Saturday. Hopefully there'll be more coming in. Any questions on that? And the next session is 12:45, I believe, back here. Thank you.
2:45 to 2 session here. So I'll hand the mic over here to Cam. Cam.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. Before I get started, who was not here yesterday?
That's easier.
There we go, yeah. It's a little easier that way. Get a bit of an idea as to where I'm at. I appreciate the opportunity again to be here in this wonderful city. And also to thank again to the City of Moose Jaw and also with SIAS to really pull this thing together, and we're proud to be the supporters of it.
Did I put the wrong one on?
Pardon me?
Did I put the wrong one on? I thought your name was there.
Oh, that's probably because you need to do that one.
Oh, okay.
There we go, thank you. I delivered a couple of presentations yesterday. One of them is Equilibrium Housing Demonstration Projects, and the other one's about Equilibrium Communities. And I kept it, the communities one was actually quite short because we also had Philip to discuss more details about the the Regent Park project that he was involved with. I only have a few minutes here, so what I'm doing here right now is just to give you a quick overview of the equilibrium projects that we've been initiating across Canada. And here we go before I drop that. Equilibrium really is sort of a word that we came up with that sort of balances nature with the environment and housing and recycling and everything else that goes with it. And just to kind of keep it short, it's also the same thing en français, so because we have to be very careful about that. And so equilibrium communities, first of all, it's a demonstration project. We are also in partnership with also the Eco Action. You see, it's a collaborative initiative between Natural Resources Canada, CanMet Energy, and CMHC. So some money flows in from CMHC and also them to come up with roughly, say, averaging $500,000 to $550,000 to put in towards the sustainable communities so that we can learn from where they're really going at with this. So funds and the support developers to improve the performance in designing and developing sustainable communities. We'd like to demonstrate how the neighborhood scale offers unique opportunities for integration across the systems. So when we say integration across systems, we're looking at transportation, energy, water, wastewater, stormwater management, passive solar, and anything that you could possibly think of that you can throw into a community where we can learn. So each one of them has different stories to tell. So we have 4 different projects. And the idea, though, too, is after we've done a lot of the research and so on, they can pull out the reports, we'd like to then measure the performances and basically also use these projects also for touring, and we can also then share that information from all these different projects. One of them is Station Point. This one's in Edmonton. It's a redevelopment in Fort Rouge Road community. It's a renewal project. It's on the former industrial lands northeast of downtown. There's over 1,400 square meters of commercial, retail, daycare, community facilities. They're planning on having 220 affordable market homes, townhomes, mid and high-rise apartments. And we're looking at mixed use, of course, businesses on the main floors and residences on top with rental home ownership. And right now it's still in the planning phase. One of the original submissions is that they want to do geothermal. And now they're sort of recalculating it all. And they're probably now going to be focusing more so on having the entire development concentrating more so on passive solar energy. And so that's a bit of a different twist from the original application or submission, but we're good with that. We'll move forward with it. The other one is Ampersand in Ottawa. That subdivision you can see it's in a couple of phases. The phase you see more on the light colored stuff is more the commercial stuff. And the one in the green, of course, is going to be the residential. And here again, it's in the Nepean Town Center. There's going to be over 1,000 homes where there's stacked houses to mid-rise apartments. There's going to be over 25,000 square feet of commercial retail space, civic uses, public open spaces. And of course, it's a little bit beyond just the planning phases. They've already built a couple of the, I think they're 4-story townhomes. And one of them basically is sort of built conventional construction, but a little bit higher our insulation value. And the other one is a little bit more what we call sort of the equilibrium, reaching out there even more so in a better building envelope, better windows, and energy efficiency features. I can't get into all the details, but one of the things that they have found as far as a builder is concerned, because they're actually won, I think it was 3 years, not all in a row, but 3 years in most recent years, the Builder of the Year awards through from the Ontario Home Builders Association. So they're very well known across Ontario. And and so what they've done though is that they have, of course, some extra costs involved in designing the buildings to become more energy efficiency and so on, but they're not even telling the new buyers that they're even buying this, because they're not necessarily even looking at taking any risks of people thinking that they're overpaying for something. And the whole strategy about energy efficiency sometimes becomes more of a challenge than there is anything else. So they're building everything all into cost, and Trevor, I'm sure you can sort of back me up on sometimes the challenges of when it comes down to marketing. I mean, you build it, and then they buy it, and they'll reap in the benefits of what the quality of these buildings are all about. And so that's sort of a strategy that they're taking, and they're also, or they have been looking at geothermal. They're definitely going to be looking at photovoltaics and so on. Matter of fact, in one of the condos, they're looking at putting on photovoltaics. But one of the things about that too is that I think they might have the option, like the condo corporation might have an option of just buying it. They're not into it for any money, but they have gone out and got some research money to be able to put some of these units up onto the building. However, they don't want to operate it. They'll probably just sell the whole system for like $1 to the condo corp, because sometimes it could be some legal issues as to in case that the PVs might not quite perform according to spec or something like that. They just rather just not have their hands tied in there. But you know, they're still looking at incorporating photovoltaics in that whole project. The one you heard about this morning was Regent Park, and I'm not going to get into any detail of it because Philip did a great job this morning of giving you a quick overview of it. And the last one we have at this point in time is Tayastanis, which is near Tofino. This is the only on-reserve one that we have going on. And the idea here, to keep it short, is that this is actually a community geothermal system that they've installed. And the system that they've done is basically just below the ground level, below frost, as if they're going to get frost over near Tofino and lucky buggers. They're basically installed a slinky system, which is basically like a big coil, like a slinky, flattened out and then put into the ground, so you can have more lineal footage of energy absorbing into the system as you're able to extract the energy from the system. And here again, just on the equilibrium communities, there's a couple of websites. There's visit the ecoaction.gc.ca. There's equilibrium.communities. And then another easier one than memorizing all that is www.cmhc.ca. Just go into sustainability and you'll get into the access all of these different projects. We have project profiles of each one of these. And just to quickly get into the Equilibrium Housing Demonstration Initiative, we held a competition about 4 years ago, I think it was, and we received 77 submissions out of that. We've basically boiled it down to 12 projects. We upped it to 15, built across Canada. We use them as a demonstration to showcase some of the different ideas and strategies that the different builders, designers, developers, municipal people put these teams together to submit these, and now we're learned from them. We had them open for touring, public and industry tours. And now we're also doing performance monitoring to determine just exactly what's really working, what's not working. Trevor had an excellent presentation yesterday telling us a lot of the realities too about what worked and what didn't. And I'm so happy that it came out of his pocketbook. No, what's that? That was awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is that a lot of lessons learned, valuable lessons learned from all of that, and we appreciate that. Some of the focuses on the sustainable or the equilibrium projects is the 5 core performance measures, of course, is occupant health and comfort, energy efficiency, resource conservation, reduced environmental impact, and of course affordability. So over time you get to sharpen your pencil and learn a lot of things. I just kind of left this one up here, the Riverdale project. This one here is one of them up in Edmonton. And when we were listening to Eric's presentation this morning, it just dawned on me that yesterday I never even mentioned it. But of course we're looking at renewables, we're looking at recycle, we're looking at a few different options when we talk about some of the principles of this. But in this particular project though too is that they used a lot of recycled materials. They have a concrete countertop. They have recycled glass, backsplash. They have actually glulam beams they actually got out of an old liquor commission that was being torn down. And I remember when it was being constructed, well, they put in hardwood floors, but hardwood floors came actually from an old school gymnasium. So when you walked into there, you could see all the lines from the score or the boundaries and everything else. But of course, it wasn't installed exactly the same way. It was inside the high school, so it was all patched up all over the place. And some people liked it, but then at the end they were deciding, should we just keep that on or not? It's like the example that you were showing, you know, when you look at the kitchen or at the ceiling with all these different cabinet doors, like should you just paint it all in color or not? But in the end, I guess because it was going to be sold and everything, that they ended up having to sand and strip all that stuff off and just come down to some just a regular colored hardwood floor. But nothing wrong with that hardwood floor. It was fantastic. So they used a lot of recycled materials in here. Again, all the profiles of all these different projects are all online, so I don't have much time to talk about them all at this point. This is the Minto House while it was being constructed, and they, of course, took advantage of the sun, passive solar energy, but just comes to show it doesn't have to be facing the street because that's really the back of the house. So all the photovoltaics and the hot water solars and the evaporating tubes are in the front and so on. Of course, you're looking at the overhang and the shading to help cooling in the summertime. And this one here is Trevor's project, the Avalon Discovery 3 project. Slab on grade, and you have the really cool. You have the photovoltaics built right into the roof, so it's not even noticeable as you're driving on by. Shutters, I don't know, tons of stuff. Should I add in a couple of other features? I don't know. We'll move along. Yeah. Oh no, well here they are. Hot water, the hot air. Yeah, it's just really neat too. You got the solar hot air panels right along the side of the building. You never really tell that's what they are. So what's I love about this project, you can drive on by and it doesn't have to look like a spaceship. And people don't quite appreciate that, and it's kind of nice to see have a really nice curb appeal. And this is actually the EcoTerra house, which is about an hour south of Montreal. And this was actually on the site. I guess in my rush to put this presentation quickly together last night, I didn't put the front picture on, but you'll see it later. This is actually on site. Foundation was in place. This house was actually put together in 5 different pieces. One of the main modules that contained all of the mechanics, all the hot water, the tanks, the HRVs, the electrical, air exchangers, everything that had to do with this building was all put into one module, dropped into the basement. They put the house all together, just like this. And then they hooked it all up and it was ready to go. And that was it. That was a great example of a modular home that could actually be built with that high standard. And this was the only existing home that we have that was under the Equilibrium project. And this was the old, it's called a Now House, and you could again find this online. And this is a house at CMHC way back in the day when we were first created to help house the veterans coming back in from the Second World War. We designed, we engineered, we built, we mortgaged, we financed these, and there's thousands of them across the country. And it just happened to be this way. We never fixed it this way. So they did a complete retrofit to the outside, put an extra space frame on the outside, and did right over top the existing roof, put some rafters in, spray foamed insulations. It was insulated. It was and it was acting as a vapor barrier and also for minimizing usually on air leakage in the existing building. And of course, this is now on the south side. We see hot water solar, and then you get your photovoltaics, and that's what it looks like after it's all said and done.
Yeah, that was a world record.
How'd you like that?
Very good.
Yeah, so here again, you can see right here, the 1-800 number if you want to get some information from anyone there. But www.cmhc, and if you go into sustainability or building design, you'll get all the information from the Equilibrium Communities and the Equilibrium Housing Demonstration Projects. I wish I could be here all day to talk about these, but I'm going to get the cane here pulling on me pretty soon. Any quick questions here on this? Oh, I've done such a good job. Oh. Thank you.